Good morning, everybody. And today we'll be discussing on biorelevant media and how to select that. So today's topic is biorelevant media, which one is right for my formulation. And the agenda for today's session is first we'll discuss in brief about dissolution test, followed by biorelevant media. We will shortly introduce our product BioWise. Then there will be few application case studies and finally decision tree. So dissolution testing, as all of us know, traditionally it has been used as a measure of proportion of drug dissolving in stated time under standardized condition in vitro. And since it's a dissolution test, so all of us know that the typical media that we are using include water or hydrochloric acid or phosphate buffers. And in some cases, depending on the monograph, or if the drug is not a monograph, it's not pharmacopoeial, then we may also have in-house dissolution method wherein we may use surfactants like sodium lauryl sulfate or polysorbate 80 and so on and so forth. And basic reason why we carry out dissolution testing is to evaluate the product quality. Now that product quality could be checked immediately after manufacturing and during its shelf life, or it could be after some changes that take place in the formulation over a period of time. And another application of dissolution testing is to compare two or more formulations. And as all of us know, there is no attempt to correlate with in vivo data. That means if our formulation is behaving properly in dissolution study, that means in vitro, it does not guarantee that it would behave similarly in vivo or when given or administered to human patients. So on the right hand side here, you will see that the tablets are getting dissolved and the tablet is being administered to human beings, and we are trying to actually predict, or we are trying to find out what will happen or what will be the fate of our formulation in human body by doing some in vitro test. And this has given rise to the concept of biorelevant media. So these media, they represent pH, osmolality, surface tension, and buffer capacity of GI fluids, and they incorporate physiological components as against our routine dissolution media. And as a result of that, they are biologically discriminating and they differentiate between fasted and fed conditions. So this is a very well researched concept, and if you do some literature search, you will get a lot of papers on this particular concept. And with this biorelevant media, we will be able to predict in vivo drug dissolution behavior, and hence we could have some indication as to the bioavailability and bioequivalence of our formulation. So basically, there are three types of simulated fluids that would simulate the before meal conditions in stomach and in small intestine, and after or with meal condition in small intestine, that is fed small intestine. And the media that are used for these indications, they typically include fasted state simulated gastric fluid having pH 1.6, fasted state simulated intestinal fluid having pH of 6.5, and fed state simulated intestinal fluid having pH of around 5.8. And if we look at the composition, then the physiological components in the simulated gastric fluid is low. In empty simulated small intestine fluid, it is moderate, and in fed simulated small intestinal fluid, it is high. And when it comes to preparation of biorelevant media, as all of us know, it could be done in-house, or you can use a ready-made product called BioWise. So in case of in-house, still there is lack of awareness on part of especially the analytical scientists, and also to some extent on formulation scientists. And it's a formulation actually. So just like we have a formula for any tablet capsule or any other dosage form, similarly biorelevant media, they also have a particular formulation in which different ingredients are mixed in fixed ratio. The preparation is solvent based, and therefore there in many laboratories there is lack of proper infrastructure to make biorelevant media in-house, and this preparation is time consuming. So that's why Electrolab has come out with a product called BioWise. So it's a plug and play type of product which reduces preparation time. It's reliable, and most importantly, it is backed by Electrolab's technical support. And there are different versions of this BioWise. So BioWise V1, that is V1 SGF, that is simulated gastric fluid. So its composition is sodium taurocholate and lecithin in the ratio 4:1. Then similarly, we have fed state gastric simulated fluid, wherein the combination of this bile salt or lecithin is not present, but typically it has all the salts and milk and buffer composition. Then we have BioWise V1 simulated intestinal fluid, which contains sodium taurocholate and lecithin in fasted state simulated fluid. And again, fed state is also having same composition. If we look at the ratios also, the ratios are also same 4:1. But the difference is that in case of fasted state, we have pH of 6.5, whereas in fed state, we have pH of 5. And the osmolality around 270 for fasted state, and for fed state it is around 670. And similarly, buffer capacities are respectively 12 and 72. But over a period of time, as people gain more insight into the composition of intestinal fluids and gastric fluids, it was realized that this ratio is too high. That means the composition of bile salt and lecithin is actually too high, and that's why there is need to reduce this, because many times this started giving overexpression of solubility and dissolution. So this has given rise to the latest or the version 2.0 of BioWise, that we call as BioWise V2. So wherein the fasted state composition has sodium taurocholate, again the same composition, but the ratio is different. So now in this case, the ratio will be 15:1, and in fed state, the ratio will be 5:1 for sodium taurocholate and lecithin. And along with that, there is use of glyceryl monooleate and sodium oleate, so which are typically the components that show the effect of lipolyzed products on dissolution. And here we are actually prescribing to use malic acid as the buffer component, whereas in V1, if you see, it's typically phosphate buffer or acetate buffer. That means acetic acid or phosphoric acid. So that is the basic difference between V1 and V2. And this is the summary that we just discussed. Like, so in fasted state V1, we have same ratio of bile salt to lecithin, that is 4:1. But in V2, fasted state is fasted state bile salt to lecithin ratio is 15:1, and in fed state it is 5:1. And in addition, fed state V2 also has sodium oleate and glycerol monooleate. Then the buffer that we just discussed, so it's phosphate or acetate for V1, and for V2 it's maleate. The pH, again in the case of V1, whether it's, if it's fasted, it will be 6.5. If it is fed, it will be 5. Whereas in case of V2, fasted will have pH of 6.5 and fed will have pH of 5.8. Then the buffer capacity values, if we see, V1 is having higher buffer capacity as compared to V2. Same is the case with osmolality also. And to assist and to ease the life of analytical scientists, we have pack sizes which are enough for single test. So for fasted state V1, we have pack size of 7.8. For fasted fed state V1, we have pack size of 78 grams. Similarly, for V2, fasted state pack size is 6.2 and fed state is 63.2 grams. So these particular pack sizes, they actually are sufficient for 7 individual vessels of dissolution test. So 6 for 6 tablets or 6 capsules or 6 dosage forms, and additional one for replenishment. And V1 same composition can be used for fasted as well as fed state of intestinal fluids, and also fasted state gastric fluid. But in case of V2, we have different sets of product, that is fasted state V2 and fed state V2. So this is general background about BioWise. Now let us look at the application of BioWise or biorelevant media and how they can guide us in our formulation development, or how they can help us in discriminating our dissolution studies, or discriminating between innovator product and generic product. So this is a table that displays the solubility of different APIs in different media. So the first column after the drug is HIF. HIF stands for human intestinal fluid. Then we have buffer, then buffer plus 0.5% SL. So this is typical dissolution media in many a cases, many a case. Then we have FASTSIF V1 and FASTSIF V2. So V1 and V2. Now here if we see majority of drugs, they belong to BCS class 2, and the red numbers, or red numbers, they indicate that the values are far away from the actual HIF values. Now these solubility values are expressed in terms of microgram per ml, and here you will see that the green values, they are basically are very close to HIF values, and the light green values, they are either below or above the actual HIF values, but bit closer to actual HIF values. So what we see from this particular table is that in 100% of the cases where we are using buffer plus 0.5% SLS, everywhere we see that the values are higher than the HIF values. Okay, so that means if our product is giving good dissolution in this particular buffer plus 0.5% SS, now this buffer is phosphate buffer. So that does not necessarily mean that the product will be giving similar results in vivo. So that is the drawback of using SLS as a surfactant in our dissolution when we are trying to develop a predictive dissolution method, or when we are trying to generate some kind of discrimination between two formulations. Now coming to version 1 and version 2 of fasted state simulated intestinal fluid, we see that in majority of cases, this V2 column is more or less green, and in some cases it is slightly light green, wherein the values are differing slightly from the actual human intestinal fluid value solubilities. And the reason why in some cases in V1 we see that the some values are red is because of the higher concentration of bile salt and lecithin. So these higher concentration of bile salt and lecithin, they actually create mixed micelles, which actually assist in the solubility of the API. So there is overexpression of solubility in certain cases when we use V1. And especially if we see, now this is again a bit busy slide, and like some things are not very clear, but I'm sorry for that. But if we see, like this particular slide talks about 4 different dissolutions. First is metoprolol, second is mefenamic acid, third is ketoconazole, and fourth is danazole. Now typically for metoprolol, whether we are using fasted state V1 or fasted state V2, we see that it's almost matching or superimposable line that we get, or the superimposable dissolution curve that we get. And this is because metoprolol is highly water soluble. And though it is acidic, and because it is weakly acidic, so higher pH will actually lead to ionization. So ionization is going to play important role rather than the mixed micelle formation. But when you are talking about mefenamic acid is having poor solubility or lesser solubility as compared to metoprolol, and as a result of that, what we see that the drug that is released is always less, whether it's V1 or V2. But in case of V1, we see that this light green curve, it is much higher than the red curve, which is for V2, and this is because the mixed micelle concentration is giving you higher solubility and higher dissolution rate for this particular basic drug. But still again, here you see that this green curve, which is for V1, and the red curve, which is almost 0, which is for V2. So again, because of higher concentration of bile salts, here you see that the resultant dissolution is higher as compared to V2 formulation. And same case is there for danazole, which is non-ionic, which remains unionized at all the pH values. So here again you see that the green curve is higher and above than the red curve. So green curve, as we said, it stands for V1, red curve stands for V2. So again, we have seen that the mixed micelles are because of higher concentration of this surfactant, bile salt and lecithin, we see that there is overexpression of solubility. So whenever we are not getting any kind of discrimination using, say, V1 biorelevant media or biowise V1, then it is a good idea to go for the V2 media and again check the solubility as well as dissolution rate in V2. Now there is all of us are very well conversant with the concept of BCS, that is biopharmaceutical classification system. Now there is also another concept which is equally old, that is known as developability classification system. Now the basic difference between BCS and DCS is that in BCS, as all of us know, we are determining solubility over a pH of 1 to 6.8, and the typical volume for dissolution media is 250 ml. And from this particular combination, or from this particular data, we have four classes: class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 4. But in DCS classification system, we check for jejunal solubility, that is the mid-gut solubility, and the volume that is used for dissolving the drug is 500 ml as against 250 ml. And this particular DCS classification is having 5 classes as against the 4 classes of BCS, wherein this class 2, that is low solubility, high permeability, is divided into 2A and 2B. 2A stands for dissolution rate limited APIs, and 2B stands for solubility limited APIs. So now what is the significance of this 2A and 2B is that if it is dissolution rate limited, then you will see that the dissolution is getting affected by your composition of biorelevant media. And whether it's solubility limited, again you will see that because of higher concentration of bile salts and lecithin, B1 will give you higher results, B1 will give you higher dissolution as compared to V2. So this is the basic difference as to wherein we can get the discrimination. So for actual correct application of biorelevant media, we need to know the chemistry of our molecule. So if we know whether our drug is weakly acidic or weakly basic, or if it's non-ionic, or if it's having 2 pKa values or 2 pKb values, and so on and so forth. So if we know the chemistry of our molecule, we will be in better position to get discrimination using right type of bio-wise media. And typically, if we are having weakly basic drug, then at high pH, there will be slower dissolution. So dissolution rate will be slower for weakly basic drug. And if our drug is weakly acidic, then we see that at high pH, the dissolution will be faster. And that is because at higher pH, the weakly acidic drug will undergo ionization, and ionization will always get predominance over the mixed micelle concentration or over the surfactant effect. So that is the basic thing that we need to always keep in mind. So once we know the BCS class of our drug and DCS class of our drug, then we could actually find out the different levels as to for dissolution testing, as to which will give us better correlation with expected in vivo results. So level 0 is our typical dissolution, the QC dissolution that I would say, wherein only the pH is the main concern, and we are trying to match the pH of body fluids with the pH of our dissolution medium. So that is the most basic level called as level 0. And the typical examples include 0.1 molar HCl or 4.5 acetate buffer or 6.8 phosphate buffer. So typical multimedia dissolution. So these are the examples of level 0 dissolutions. Then comes level 1. So wherein along with pH, we also take into consideration the buffer capacity plus other ingredients. So like when we have HGF, simulated gastric fluid, so that contains hydrochloric acid 0.1 molar. Along with that, we also have sodium chloride in that. So we are looking at level 1 when we are trying to match or simulate the body fluids or GI fluids, but we are not taking into consideration the other physicochemical properties like their osmolality or their composition. Then after level 1 comes level 2, so which is our typical biorelevant media or bio-wise media, wherein along with buffer capacity, we are also taking into consideration the bile components, dietary lipids, lipid digestion products, and osmolality. So that means we are also looking at the fasted state and fed state of the GI tract, and the effect of food on the dissolution. So level 1, I can say it's more like a fasted state bio-wise medium, whereas level 2 is both fasted as well as fed state. And then we come to the highest level, that is level 3. So which along with these components, bile salts, dietary lipids, they also contain dietary proteins, enzymes, and also match the viscosity effects when the food is present in GI tract. Now typically level 3 is advised when we have a lipid drug delivery system, or when we have specialized products like soft gelatin capsules, wherein like we need to add some enzymes, proteolytic enzymes, which would break the gelatin shell and allow the contents to be released. So when we compare these levels, or when we look at these levels from the point of view of DCS classification, then typically for class 1 and class 3, we will recommend to go for level 0 or level 1. But at the same time, this is a very basic level, as I said, and level 2 will give us better perception about the performance of our delivery system in presence of food and in absence of food. And for class 2 or borderline 1 and 2, and class 4 or borderline 3 and 4, we will always recommend to go for level 2. That means the version 2 of BioWise, or in some cases version 1 of BioWise. And again, level 3, it can be used for all 1, 2, 3, and 4 classes of drugs, but provided it is a specialized drug delivery system like lipid. Use of BioWise is a wise penultimate choice for BA studies. And V1 and V2, as we have seen, they differ in composition, buffer capacity, and osmolality. And drug chemistry affects the solubility in biologically relevant media. So it's very important to understand and know the drug chemistry. And discretion is required to choose right medium to avoid overexpression or underexpression of solubility, and hence the dissolution, because the same thing will be reflected in dissolution results. And biorelevant media decision tree could be used to select the right dissolution media. So thank you for your time and attention. And if you have any queries or questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.